I want you to just close your eyes for a second and picture this scenario.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right. So it is June 5th, 2025. You are physically sitting in a stadium in Abu Dhabi, but your mind, your heart, your entire central nervous system is suspended somewhere thousands of miles away over Central Asia.
Oh, yeah. The tension there must have been wild.
Unbelievable. The air in the stadium is just incredibly thick. It's that oppressive, suffocating Middle Eastern humidity, kind that makes your shirt just cling to your back.
The worst.
Exactly. But you barely even notice it because the tension is so absolutely unbearable. I mean, an entire nation, we're talking nearly 36 million people back in Uzbekistan, is collectively holding its breath.
The streets of Tashkent were probably totally deserted.
Completely empty. Every single television screen is locked onto this exact patch of grass. You're watching your national football team, right?
Sure.
A team that has endured literally decades of the most agonizing, heartbreaking near misses imaginable.
They really have.
And they're grinding out this gritty, grueling, bone-crushing 0-0 draw away against the United Arab Emirates. We were in the 89th minute. Legs are cramping. Lungs are burning.
Just hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, exactly. The referee checks his watch, and then the final whistle blows. For a split second, there is this deafening silence of pure disbelief.
Wow.
And then it just shatters into absolute, unadulterated euphoria. I mean, grown men are weeping into the turf. The decades-long curse is finally definitively broken.
It gives you goosebumps just thinking about it.
It really does. For the first time in the history of the sport, Uzbekistan is going to the FIFA World Cup.
It truly is one of those incredibly rare, crystalline moments in sports history.
Yeah.
I mean, if you understand the context of global football, a moment like that is a literal paradigm shift.
A total shift.
Right. The narrative for an entire generation of players and fans fundamentally shifted that night from, almost to finally. This massive invisible wall, this psychological barrier that had held an entire footballing culture back for over 30 years, it was completely dismantled in the sweltering heat of that Abu Dhabi night.
It's just incredible. Welcome to this custom-tailored deep dive, everyone. If you're joining us today, you are in for an incredible ride. Our mission today is singular, but the scope of it is massive.
We've got a lot of ground to cover.
We really do. We are going to completely dissect the Uzbekistan national football team's prospects at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. We've pulled together an absolute mountain of research for you today.
Mountains of data, yeah.
We're diving deep into their post-Soviet evolution. We're breaking down the intricate mechanics of their highly specific defensive system, and we're looking at real-time betting odds.
Plus the AI predictions, which are fascinating.
Yes. Cutting-edge AI predictions from models like ChatGPT and Claude. And crucially, we are going to analyze the very latest, frankly terrifying injury reports coming out of their North American training camps.
It's a fascinating cross-section of data to explore. We're taking historical context and putting it right side by side with hard, cold, tactical analytics.
Right.
To really understand the mechanics of what this team is actually bringing to the global stage. I mean, we aren't just looking at who is playing, we're looking at how they play, why they play that way, and what happens when that system is put under the ultimate stress test.
And, why should you, the listener, even care about this specific team?
Yeah.
Look, whether you are an absolute sucker for a brilliant underdog story.
Which who isn't, really.
Exactly. Or, you're a tactical nerd who loves seeing a meticulously organized defense completely frustrate a team of global superstars. Or maybe you just want to sound like the smartest, most well-informed person in the room when Group K kicks off.
Always a bonus.
Right. This deep dive is going to give you everything you need to know. We are leaving literally no stone unturned.
Group K is an incredibly complex ecosystem, by the way. You've got Portugal, Colombia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo in there.
It's a gauntlet.
It really is. So understanding Uzbekistan isn't just about understanding one underdog. It is the absolute key to understanding the entire dynamic of how that group will unfold. They're the tactical wild card.
I love that. I like to think of Uzbekistan's journey sort of like this. Imagine a really gritty, incredibly talented local indie band.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Right. For years, they've absolutely dominated the underground scene. They sell out the local basement clubs. They have this rabid, fiercely loyal fan base who know every single lyric.
That they can't quite break out.
Exactly. They've just never been able to score that one elusive major record deal to break into the mainstream.
Yeah.
They've watched lesser bands get signed while they remain the best-kept secret.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Super frustrating.
Yeah.
And now, suddenly, they've not only signed the biggest deal possible, but they are headlining a global stadium tour. The lights are blinding, the stage is massive, the sound system is entirely different. And everyone is wondering, are they going to play the gig of their lives? Or is the sheer scale of the venue going to make them just freeze under the spotlight?
That is the exact tension we are exploring today. I mean, can the kings of the underground hold their own when the whole world is finally watching?
That's the ultimate question.
Because performing for your loyal fans in a familiar, basement environment is one thing, but performing when the acoustics are different and the global critics are literally waiting for you to fail, that is an entirely different psychological challenge.
Totally. So let's unpack this weight of history first. Because, frankly, you simply cannot understand the emotional engine of this team without understanding the ghosts they're running from.
The history is essential here.
To put this in perspective for you, they are the very first Central Asian nation to ever qualify for the World Cup finals. Period.
That's a massive demographic milestone.
It's huge. And if we zoom out to the broader post-Soviet landscape, they are only the third former Soviet republic to make it to the tournament, following Russia and Ukraine.
Which is wild when you think about it.
It really is. It's a huge geographic milestone.
And to really appreciate it, you have to look back at the Soviet era. During that time, Uzbekistan, specifically through the club Pakhtakor Tashkent, was a major hub of footballing talent.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They had a deep, rich footballing infrastructure, but when they gained independence in 1991 and they had to form their own distinct national team in 1992, they essentially had to start from scratch in terms of international standing.
Right. They lost all that accumulated Soviet momentum.
Exactly. They had to carve out a brand new identity in the Asian Football Confederation, the AFC. And their history over the last 3 decades has been defined by a truly agonizing series of almosts.
The heartbreaks. Oh my gosh, when you look back at their record, it reads like a tragedy.
It really does.
We are talking about the 2006 qualifying campaign and the 2014 campaign specifically. They were notoriously known across the continent as the team that would play brilliant, free-flowing football right up until the absolute final hurdle, and then somehow, inexplicably, just trip over their own feet.
They were called the Asian Chokers.
Oof. That's harsh.
It was a label that really haunted them. I mean, it was unfair in some respects, but it was incredibly prevalent. They would routinely reach the final stages of AFC qualifying or get into those tense, high-stakes playoff matches, and they would just stumble.
And it wasn't a talent issue, right?
Not at all. It wasn't a lack of talent. The pressure of carrying not just a newly independent nation, but arguably the footballing hopes of the entire Central Asian region, it just seemed to create this immense, suffocating psychological block.
Like a mental wall.
Exactly. Think about the actual physical toll of anxiety on an athlete. Heavy legs, clouded decision-making, a fraction of a second hesitation. That's what pressure does.
So that 0-0 draw against the UAE.
Yes, that draw wasn't just a tactical result. It was a literal exorcism of those ghosts. By grinding out that single point, they bypassed the unpredictable playoff rounds that had historically derailed them. They secured automatic qualification and finally shattered the ceiling.
Wow. Okay, so to really grasp the mentality of the team that finally broke that curse, we have to look at their cultural identity.
Yeah.
Because they have some of the most vivid, culturally rich nicknames in international football.
They really do. The branding is incredible.
Primarily, they are known as the White Wolves, or Oki Borilar in Uzbek. And the gray wolf is this deeply revered symbol in their culture.
Right. It represents pack unity and survival.
Exactly. Fierce survival instincts and untamed courage. They're also called the Turanians, which reflects this intense, ancient regional pride tying back to the historical Turan region.
That's fascinating.
And beautifully, they are sometimes referred to as the Huma birds. That references the mythical bird of paradise on their national emblem. It's like a phoenix-like creature that symbolizes perpetual happiness and immortality.
The psychology behind those symbols is just fascinating when you map it directly onto their current playing style.
How so?
Well, The white wolf isn't just a clever marketing gimmick they print on scarves. It is a literal reflection of how they operate on the pitch.
Hmm.
A wolf pack survives through relentless, unified action.
Right, they hunt together.
Exactly. And because of that brutal history of almost but not quite, this current generation of players has developed a massive collective chip on their shoulder.
Oh, I bet.
They aren't arriving in North America just happy to be tourists. They aren't there to take selfies and humbly trade shirts with Cristiano Ronaldo after a respectable 3-0 loss. They are arriving with a desperate, burning need to prove they belong at this table.
And that aggression, the survival instinct, it's not just metaphorical. I found this absolutely mind-blowing when I was looking through our sources. Uzbekistan has this massive national passion for combat sports.
Oh, huge. Wrestling and boxing, yeah.
Yes. We are talking about world-class Olympic-level dominance in boxing and wrestling.
Huh.
And that deeply ingrained cultural affinity for hand-to-hand combat directly translates to the football pitch.
It really does show in the stats.
If you look at the advanced metrics, they have incredibly high duel success rates. They literally fight for every single 50-50 ball, every aerial challenge, like it's the final round of a heavyweight title bout.
It's a vital biomechanical and psychological observation. Physical durability and a combative temperament are completely ingrained in their sporting DNA.
It makes total sense.
Think about the mechanics of wrestling, right? It's all about balance, center of gravity, and manipulating your opponent's leverage.
Yeah.
So when you translate that to a football pitch, an Uzbek midfielder shielding the ball or jockeying for position on a corner kick is utilizing those exact same principles.
Oh, that's such a cool connection.
Yeah. When you look at their midfield blocks, they don't just passively jockey attackers and wait for an interception. They engage them physically, they bump, they lean, they make the opponent uncomfortable.
That pure physical grit.
Exactly. And that was absolutely essential in getting them through the grueling attritional matches of the AFC qualifiers under their former manager, Timur Kapadze.
Okay, let's talk about Kapadze for a second, because this is where the narrative takes a really sharp turn. Kapadze is a local coach, an absolute national hero.
Highly respected.
He guided their under-23 team to the Paris 2024 Olympics, which was a huge deal. And then he was the actual guy on the touchline who secured this historic World Cup qualification.
Right.
But just months after he secures the golden ticket, the ticket the country has desperately wanted for 30 years, the Uzbekistan Football Association replaces him. They move him out of the head coach role and bring in a massive, high-profile international name.
Yes. In October 2025, the Federation made the really ruthless decision to appoint Fabio Cannavaro as the head coach, transitioning Kapadze into a different developmental role within the setup.
Which makes me want to push back a little here, because on a human level, that seems insane.
It's a massive gamble.
I get the combat sports mentality. I get the white wolf pack unity. But if you have a local guy who understands that culture intimately, who built that brotherhood, why discard him?
Right.
Is that raw emotion, that pack aggression, really not enough when you step onto the biggest stage in the world? Or does the pressure of carrying an entire region's hopes, combined with suddenly playing under a brand new, globally famous manager who doesn't speak your language, become a psychological burden that causes that very pack mentality to fracture?
It's a very valid concern, and honestly, it's the exact gamble the Uzbekistan Football Association decided to take. They clearly sat down and asked themselves the hard questions.
What did they realize?
They realized that raw mentality, emotion, and physical aggression, the things Kapadze harnessed so beautifully, do not, on their own, win World Cup matches against elite, tactically sophisticated opposition.
Emotion isn't enough.
Right. Emotion is a double-edged sword. If you rely purely on combativeness against a team like Colombia, that aggression translates into mistimed tackles, red cards, and defensive spaces opening up because players are chasing the ball emotionally rather than holding their shape.
Ah, yeah, that makes sense. You get pulled out of position.
Exactly. You need a rigidly defined, emotionally detached tactical blueprint to channel that aggression efficiently. Kapadze built the spirit, but Cannavaro was brought in to build the fortress.
The fortress. Which brings us perfectly into the tactical identity they are building. So they bring in Fabio Cannavaro. For anyone who needs a quick football history refresher, this is the legendary Italian center back.
An absolute icon.
He captained Italy to the 2006 World Cup victory. He won the Ballon d'Or as a defender, which is almost impossible to do.
Very rare, yeah.
He takes over in October 2025, and his arrival perfectly aligns with another one of the team's long-standing nicknames, Asian Italy.
Yeah, the Asian Italy moniker actually predates Cannavaro's arrival by several years, interestingly enough.
Play?
Yeah, it originally stemmed from a superficial similarity. Their primary blue and white kits look strikingly similar to the famous Italian Azzurri kits.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
But over time, it became a reflection of their historical reliance on deep defensive organization and tactical discipline in the Asian Confederation. By bringing in Cannavaro, the ultimate living symbol of Italian defensive mastery, the Federation orchestrated this brilliant marriage of their existing brand with elite tactical instruction.
So let's actually break down this blueprint.
Yeah.
How is a Ballon d'Or winning Italian defender actually setting up an underdog Asian team to play? I don't want just the formation numbers, I want to know how it physically works on the pitch.
Sure. At its core, Cannavaro has implemented a highly compact 5-4-1 low block out of possession.
Okay, stop there. Let's explain the mechanics of a low block.
Right. Imagine the pitch divided into 3 horizontal thirds. A low block means Uzbekistan essentially abandons the top 2/3 of the pitch entirely when they lose the ball.
Just giving it up.
Totally giving it up. They drop deep, almost entirely into their own defensive third. The back 5 defenders sit incredibly close to their own penalty box, and the midfield 4 sit just a few yards in front of them. The physical space between the defensive line and the midfield line is practically non-existent.
So they are deliberately inviting the other team to come at them. They aren't running around the opponent's penalty box trying to steal the ball.
Exactly the opposite. A frantic, high press requires immense energy, and it leaves space behind you. Cannavaro's system uses aggressive mid-block pressing only in very specific triggers, but mostly relies on zonal blocking.
Zonal blocking. What does that look like?
This means they don't chase the ball. They aggressively defend the space. They force the opposition to pass the ball out wide, away from the dangerous central areas, or they frustrate them into trying a risky, low-percentage pass that the Uzbek defenders can intercept.
It must require so much discipline.
Immense mental concentration. If one defender steps out of line for half a second, the entire structure collapses.
And when they finally win that ball back, say an opposition midfielder makes a bad pass and an Uzbek defender steps up and intercepts it. What happens mechanically in those first 3 seconds?
In vertical transitions, that's the moment they win the ball and attack that defensive 5-4-1 shape rapidly, almost violently, shifts into a 4-2-3-1 or a 3-4-2-1.
Wait, violently?
Yes, it's a massive physical exertion. The wingbacks, who were essentially playing as cornerbacks defending their own goal, suddenly have to sprint 50 yards up the pitch to provide attacking width. The wide midfielders tuck inside to become supporting attackers.
Wow.
It's designed to be a quick, direct counterattack before the opposition can reset their own defense.
And it is incredibly pragmatic. If we look at the result, it's not just a theory, right? It actually works. During the 3rd round of AFC qualification, 4 of their 6 victories were secured by a razor-thin 1-0 scoreline.
That's what?
4 1-0 wins. That is the absolute definition of grinding out a result. It's not flashy. You aren't going to see highlight reels of them doing back heels, but it gets you to the World Cup.
It does.
So going back to your point about Capazzi, the UFA realized that against Portugal, you can't just rely on local momentum. You need someone who has physically held the World Cup trophy. Someone who knows the dark arts of defending.
Yes. The dark arts.
Someone who can teach a team how to suffer for 89 minutes, absorb relentless punishment, and protect a 1-goal lead against the best attackers on the planet.
That's the absolute crux of it. Cannavaro provides an injection of high-profile international experience. He knows how to manage the adrenaline spikes, the fatigue, and the sheer terror of playing against superior opposition. He has implemented a system designed specifically to survive the brutal realities of the group stages of a major tournament.
But hold on, let's unpack the glaring risk here. Because I look at a 5-4-1 low block that relies entirely on absorbing pressure and hitting on the counterattack, and I think about the psychology of the players.
Okay, yeah.
What happens when they inevitably go down a goal? Say Colombia scores in the 12th minute. This whole system is built on keeping a clean sheet. If they have to suddenly abandon the low block, push forward, and actually dictate possession, don't they completely fall apart?
That is the nightmare scenario.
It seems like they lack the rotational fluidity and creative passing patterns to break down an opponent who is sitting back.
It is undoubtedly their Achilles heel. A low block is a wonderful, comforting psychological blanket when the score is 0-0. Everyone knows their job, the spaces are tight, the objective is clear.
Right.
But the moment you concede, that blanket is ripped away. The entire game plan disintegrates. If you are trailing against Colombia, you can't sit in your own penalty box anymore. You have to open up your formation to chase the game.
That's dangerous.
Incredibly dangerous. When you open up, you expose your defense to the exact spaces you were previously protecting. And because this team spends 90% of their training focusing on defensive shape rather than intricate, possession-based attacking patterns, they look completely lost when forced to dictate play. You are suddenly asking them to play a game they simply aren't designed to play.
I picture their tactical setup like a meticulously engineered coiled spring.
I like that analogy.
It is designed to do one thing perfectly, right? Absorb immense, heavy pressure, coil tighter and tighter under the weight of the opponent's attack, and then snap back with devastating, blinding speed on the counter.
Yes.
But if you drop that spring in the dirt, if grit gets into the coils, say an early goal conceded or a bad referee decision, it gets tangled. It loses its tension, and a tangled spring is completely useless.
That's a brilliant way to visualize it. The system is intentionally rigid by necessity. It has to be rigid to withstand the pressure of superior teams. But a defensive masterclass, no matter how brilliantly Cannavaro draws it up on the tactical whiteboard, is ultimately entirely dependent on the specific human beings tasked with executing it on the pitch.
Which smoothly brings us to the individuals who make up this pack. The Alpha Wolves.
Let's talk about the players.
The key players you absolutely need to keep your eyes on when you tune in to these matches. Let's start right at the top of the formation, the focal point of that coiled spring. The captain, Eldor Shomurodov.
Shomurodov is the undisputed alpha of this pack. He is 30 years old. He is their all-time leading scorer with an incredible 44 goals and 92 caps.
Wow.
And he is the physical target man that Cannavaro's system desperately requires to function. To understand his importance, you have to look at the mechanics of the counterattack.
Okay, walk me through it.
When your entire team is pinned back in your own penalty area in a 5-4-1 and you finally intercept the ball, you cannot play short, intricate passes out of the back. It's too risky. You need to launch the ball long to relieve the pressure.
Just get it out of there.
Exactly. Shomurodov is the guy who fights the opposition center backs, wins those long, high aerial balls, physically holds off the defenders, and keeps possession just long enough for his transitioning midfielders to sprint up the pitch and join the attack.
And he is coming into this tournament in absolute peak form. He plays for Istanbul Başakşehir in the Turkish Super League, and he's coming off a massive 22-goal domestic season.
He's on fire.
There are even credible rumors swirling of a 10 million euro plus transfer move to Fenerbahce right before the tournament begins. So he is brimming with confidence, his instincts are razor sharp, and he is a proven ruthless goal scorer.
But, he cannot operate in isolation. A target man needs runners off the ball. The counterattack requires a creative catalyst to transition the ball from the midfield to the final third, and that is where Abasbek Faizullayev comes in.
Ah, Faizullayev.
Yes. He is just 22 years old. He also plays at Başakşehir alongside Shomurodov, which is a massive advantage because they already have deep, intuitive, club-level chemistry. Faizullayev is electric. He was voted the 2023 Asian Young Footballer of the Year.
What makes him so dangerous mechanically?
It's his biomechanics. He operates with a very low center of gravity. This gives him incredible lateral agility. While a taller defender takes a moment to shift their weight, Faizullayev has already changed direction twice.
So he just slips right past them.
Exactly. He has rapid, close-control dribbling. He is the player tasked with taking the ball in the middle third of the pitch, putting his head down, and driving it 60 yards right at the heart of the retreating opposition defense.
Some analysts have even compared his play style to Kvicha Kvaratskhelia, the Napoli star, which is obviously a massive, heavy comparison to throw around for a 22-year-old, but it paints a vivid picture of the kind of chaos he creates.
It really does.
So you have the veteran Shomurodov's physical aerial presence linking up directly with the youthful, unpredictable dynamism of Faizullayev. It's a classic big man, little man dynamic on the counterattack.
Very classic.
But we know Cannavaro's system is built on the defense, so let's talk about the guy anchoring the entire operation, their highest profile player, Abdulkadir Kusanov.
Kusanov is the cornerstone. He is a 22-year-old center back who recently made a staggering 44 million euro transfer to Manchester City.
I have to pause on Kusanov because his personal trajectory is just pure cinematic gold.
It's unbelievable.
Just 18 months ago, this kid was playing in the Belarusian league. We're talking about a guy who literally had to go out with a shovel and clear snow off the frozen pitch himself just so his team could run a training session.
The humble beginnings.
Right. And now, a year and a half later, he is living in Manchester, winning the FA Cup and the League Cup, and Pep Guardiola, arguably the greatest manager of the modern era, is publicly quoted calling him so coachable and praising him for giving 100% in every single session.
The culture shock he has experienced is phenomenal, and the dynamic it creates within the national squad is fascinating.
Also,
Well, you have a 22-year-old player who is currently experiencing the absolute pinnacle of elite European tactical education under Guardiola. He is training against Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne every single day.
right.
And he is flying back to Central Asia trying to translate that Premier League processing speed and tactical awareness to a defensive line composed mostly of older domestic league players from Uzbek clubs like Nasaf and Paktikor.
That's a huge burden.
It is. He has to elevate everyone around him. He is the primary marker the defensive anchor Cannavaro relies on to set the offside trap and organize that complex five-man backline.
And we shouldn't overlook the vital supporting cast either. You have Austin Uranov, who operates as the left winger, providing crucial width on the break. You have Odiljon Humrobekov, who is basically the engine room in the central midfield. His job is just to run, tackle, and break up the opponent's play.
He does the dirty work.
Exactly. And in goal, you have Abduvahid Nimitov, a 25-year-old who recently displaced the longtime veteran Utkir Yusupov as the number one.
Nimitov is a critical tactical upgrade because he is known specifically as a sweep passing specialist.
Which means what for their system?
In a system that relies on instant counterattacks, having a goalkeeper who can catch a corner kick and immediately ping a 60-yard pass perfectly onto Fizalev's chest is a massive weapon. It initiates the transition from the very back.
Okay, I hear all of this. I hear about the sweep passing, the target man, the low center of gravity. But I have to stop you here and bring up a massive flashing red alert regarding Kusanov.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yes, he's at Manchester City. Yes, Pep Guardiola loves his work ethic. But the harsh, undeniable reality is that he was bought for 44 million euros to be a squad player.
That's true.
He is barely getting actual competitive match time. He is mostly making brief cameos off the bench in cup games. If Kusanov is supposed to be the defensive savior, the literal anchor of Cannavaro's 5-4-1, doesn't his severe lack of mad sharpness completely terrify you?
It does.
I mean, he is going to be stepping onto a pitch in Mexico City against elite, match-fit World Cup strikers who've been playing 90 minutes every week for 9 months.
It absolutely terrifies the coaching staff, and it should terrify the fans. People often misunderstand what match sharpness actually is.
Yeah, explain that, because I think a lot of people just equate it with fitness.
Right. It is not about cardiovascular fitness.
Yep.
Kuznetsov is incredibly fit. You know, he trains with Man City. Match sharpness is neurological.
Neurological.
Yes. It is the micro-timing of a sliding tackle. It is the spatial awareness required to track a runner in your blind spot in a split second. It is the ability to read the trajectory of a cross while simultaneously feeling the striker leaning into your back.
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Those neurological pathways deteriorate when you aren't experiencing the chaotic, unpredictable stress of competitive 90-minute matches every week. You cannot simulate a World Cup match in a training session, even at Manchester City.
That makes total sense.
Relying on a rusty 22-year-old to flawlessly organize a defense against someone like Luis Diaz or Cristiano Ronaldo is a massive vulnerability.
And unfortunately, that vulnerability is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the darker reality this team is facing right now. Because if you look at the reports coming out of their camp just days out from the tournament, it paints a very grim picture of their final preparations.
The pre-World Cup friendly matches were theoretically designed to build momentum, build confidence, and test Cannavaro's system against diverse, high-level playstyles.
But they didn't.
Instead, they exposed deep structural flaws and resulted in absolutely catastrophic personnel losses.
It was a disastrous North American tour. In early June, they traveled to Edmonton to play Canada and lost 2-0. Then they flew to New York to play the Netherlands and lost 2-1.
Not ideal.
Now, losing to two very strong teams isn't necessarily a crisis on its own. There are underdogs, that happens. But it's how they lost and who they lost in the process that is causing panic. Let's look at the medical ward, because it is overflowing.
The injury list strikes at the very heart of Cannavaro's blueprint. During the Canada match, they lost Aziz Ghaniev, an absolutely critical piece of their central midfield.
How big of a loss is he?
To understand the impact, look at how Canada played. Canada employed a ferocious high press. Without Ganyev's composure and passing range in the center of the pitch, the Uzbek midfield completely buckled.
They couldn't handle the pressure.
Exactly. They lacked the mobility and technical skill to bypass the Canadian pressure, meaning they couldn't even launch their counterattacks. Then, in the Netherlands match, the unthinkable worst-case scenario happened.
Oh, man.
Captain Eldor Shomurodov was forced off the pitch in the 24th minute with a recurring physical issue.
Shomurodov, the focal point. If we go back to our analogy of the coiled spring, Shomurodov is the release mechanism. Without him, who do they physically aim for when they clear the ball out of their penalty box?
Nobody. That's the problem.
If there is no target man to hold the ball up, the ball just immediately comes back like a boomerang, and the defense has to endure wave after wave of attack until they finally break.
Precisely. The pressure becomes unsustainable. And to compound the defensive issues, in late May, just before the tour, their teenage right-back prodigy, Bekruz Karimov, suffered a fractured leg.
Ah, that's devastating.
That completely ruled him out of the tournament, robbing them of vital width on the attack and crucial defensive depth on the right flank.
You also have to factor in the psychological burden of their abysmal away record. They have only won a single game on the road since November 2024.
That is a very troubling stat.
This is a team that thrives on the intense emotional energy of their home fans in Tashkent. They feed off that atmosphere.
Yeah.
But when they travel, when they are in sterile environments or hostile stadiums, they visibly struggle to maintain their intensity.
If we synthesize all of this, what these injuries and this away form mean for the 5-4-1 system, it means the architecture is crumbling at the worst possible time.
It's all falling apart.
The transition play is entirely neutralized without Shomurodov. The midfield gets easily overrun without Ganyev. The defensive anchor, Kusanov, lacks neurological match sharpness. Cannavaro's system requires every single gear to turn in perfect synchronization, and right now, several of the most important gears have been entirely ripped out of the machine.
What about the psychological toll of all this? Put yourself in their boots. You are a young core. You are stepping onto the biggest stage your country has ever seen. The pressure of 36 million people is on your shoulders. And you watch your talismanic captain, the guy you look up to, limp off the pitch in tears a week before the opening match. We know that this exact young core previously crumbled under intense tournament pressure during a very disappointing group stage exit at the Paris 2024 Olympics.
That's right.
Do they have the mental fortitude to handle this cascading crisis without Kapadze there to rebuild their confidence?
That is the ultimate intangible question, and history suggests they are incredibly fragile under elite tournament pressure. Losing your leader right before your debut is a psychological blow that can easily fracture that white wolf pack mentality we discussed earlier.
Instead of unity, it breeds doubt.
Exactly. Players start overcompensating, stepping out of position to cover for missing teammates, and that is exactly when a disciplined defensive structure collapses.
To me, it feels like they spend years meticulously building this high-performance, custom-tuned sports car. Kapadze built the chassis. Cannavaro designed the aerodynamics. They tuned the engine, and it was purring perfectly.
I see where this is going.
Right. And then, on the final lap of the pace car rotation, right before the green flag drops for the biggest, most important race of their lives, the transmission drops out that's Ganyev, and it blows a tire that's Shomurodov. Now it's leaking oil all over the track.
And the brutal reality of the World Cup is that you can't pit. You can't ask for a delay. You have to race with the broken car you have.
Exactly. Despite the leaking oil, the green flag is going to drop. Ready or not, the tournament is here. And waiting for them at the starting line are three incredibly formidable opponents. Let's move into the gauntlet of Group K and map out exactly what they're walking into.
Group K is an incredibly unforgiving landscape for a debutante nation. The logistical and environmental challenges are almost as daunting as the opponents themselves.
Let's look at the schedule. Match day 1 is on June 17th against Colombia. But it's not just playing Colombia, it's playing them at the Estadio Azteca in Mexico City at an altitude of 2,240 meters above sea level.
That altitude is punishing.
Then, match day 2 is on June 23rd against Portugal. But they fly from the thin air of Mexico to the NRG Stadium in Houston, which is an indoor, climate-controlled dome.
Quite the change.
And then, match day 3 is June 27th against the Democratic Republic of Congo at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta under a retractable roof.
The environmental whiplash is staggering. They go from the thin, exhausting, lung-burning air of high altitude in Mexico, where By the way, a low block is physically grueling to maintain because oxygen deprivation affects concentration to completely artificial climate-controlled environments in the U.S.
But the opponents, frankly, are the real hurdle.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Let's bring in the cold, hard math. We looked at the betting odds and the predictive AI models to see what the neutral data says. The bookmakers currently have Uzbekistan at 2,000 to 1 to win the tournament.
Ouch.
And when this specific match day 1 scenario was run through leading AI models, ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, the AI gave Uzbekistan a mere 12% chance of beating Colombia.
12%. That is just brutally low.
It's brutal, yeah. The AI essentially looks at the data, looks at the injuries, looks at the altitude, and concludes that a victory is statistically nearly impossible.
The AI is incredibly pessimistic, but we have to look at the actual tournament mathematics of this newly expanded 48-team World Cup format. The rules of survival have changed.
Right, they don't have to win the group anymore.
Exactly. They do not need to win the group to advance. Under this new format, the top 2 teams in each group automatically advance, but so do the 8 best third-place teams across the tournament. This completely changes the strategic calculus.
So what does that actually mean for them?
It means that a third-place finish in Group K with just 3 points, provided they have a neutral or only slightly negative goal difference, say -1 or -2, is statistically highly likely to secure passage to the round of 32.
So what is the exact strategic scenario Cannavaro has to engineer to make that math work? Because looking at the squad right now, beating Portugal or Colombia seems like a complete fantasy.
It is a fantasy. The entire tournament strategy hinges on purely surviving that opening match in Mexico City. Colombia is currently ranked around 11th in the world. They missed the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, so they are incredibly motivated, they're explosive, and their clear objective is to ruthlessly run up their goal difference against the perceived minnows of the group.
So Uzbekistan has to weather the storm.
Uzbekistan must use the altitude and their 5-4-1 low block strictly for damage limitation. If they lose 1-0 or 2-0, that is actually a manageable strategic success. They cannot afford to chase a goal and lose 4-0.
Right, keep the goal difference completely intact. Take the loss on the chin, but don't get knocked out cold. Then they face Portugal on match day 2.
It is the exact same survival strategy. You are facing Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, a team loaded with Champions League winners. You sit as deep as physically possible. You absorb the punishment, you frustrate them, and you pray you don't get routed. You preserve the goal difference at all absolute costs.
Which sets up the climax on match day 3.
Exactly. Match day 3 in Atlanta against DR Congo becomes a winner-takes-all cup final. If Uzbekistan has miraculously survived the first 2 games without completely destroying their goal difference, a scrappy 1-0 or 2-1 victory over DR Congo gives them those precious 3 points and potentially punches their ticket to the knockout stage. That is the only realistic mathematical path forward.
But I have to push back on the AI and the betting markets here. I look at that 12% AI prediction against Colombia, and I see markets essentially writing them off, treating a group stage exit as a foregone conclusion. But isn't the World Cup famously defined by debutante magic?
It happens all the time.
Think of Senegal in 2002, shocking the reigning champions, France. Or Costa Rica in 2014, escaping the group of death against 3 former world champions. Are these rigid AI models completely missing the unpredictable, emotional, human white wolf factor?
That is the beautiful inherent flaw in predictive modeling when it comes to the sport of football. AI calculates probabilities strictly based on historical data points, squad monetary valuations, and recent form.
You can't feel the emotion.
Exactly. It sees a team that lost friendlies to Canada and the Netherlands, a team missing its talismanic captain, playing at altitude against the 11th ranked team in the world. The math dictates they lose heavily. But AI cannot quantify the sheer unadulterated adrenaline of a nation realizing a 30-year dream. It cannot quantify the desperation of a last-ditch tackle by a player who grew up kicking a deflated ball in the streets of Tashkent. It cannot measure the blind faith of a counterattack. The math is grim, it is undeniably stacked against them, but the passion of the nation is completely immeasurable.
And that immeasurable passion brings us to the end of our journey today. We've traced this incredible winding narrative, from the deep roots of Soviet-era football and the agonizing tragedies of past qualifiers to that euphoric, curse-breaking night in Abu Dhabi.
What a journey.
We've broken down the meticulous, demanding tactical discipline installed by a World Cup winner in Fabio Cannavaro. We've highlighted the brilliance of stars like Shomurodov, Faislayev, and Kusanov. And we've stared unblinking into the brutal reality of their current injury crisis
Yeah.
and the absolute gauntlet that is Group K.
It truly is a story of a team teetering on a razor's edge between historic triumph and a very harsh, unforgiving reality check.
But before we let you go, I want to leave you with one final fascinating element that perfectly captures the chaos, the color, and the drama of the World Cup. It's a bizarre off-pitch controversy that currently has the entire country talking.
Oh, the kits!
Yes. So for the 2026 World Cup, an Uzbek domestic brand called 7 Sabre took over the national kit design. You'd naturally think this would be a massive point of national pride, right? A local brand outfitting the team on the global stage.
It sounds like a great story.
But the unveiling sparked massive controversy because the fabric and the design patterns looked strikingly uncomfortably similar to proprietary Adidas templates.
Oh, no.
Yes. The backlash was so loud and so widespread that the kits actually landed near the absolute bottom of ESPN's global kit rankings.
It adds this bizarre, almost theatrical subplot to their arrival on the world stage. They are stepping into the brightest spotlight imaginable, wearing a kit that has already been universally panned and debated by the global media. It's an unwanted distraction.
But I want you to contrast that heavily criticized kit with the visual of their actual fans. If you tune into these games, you're going to see something visually incredible in the stands. Uzbek fans are famous for turning stadiums into a literal pulsing sea of green and white.
They bring the energy.
They really do. And their signature match day tradition is full, elaborate face paint. Here is the crazy part. That tradition of face painting was bizarrely banned by their own Ministry of Culture and Sport back in 2013 for being deemed culturally inappropriate.
Banned? Real?
Yes. But for the 2026 World Cup, that ban has been officially lifted, and the tradition is triumphantly, defiantly returned. The stands in Mexico City, Houston, and Atlanta are going to be absolute colorful chaos in the best way possible.
I love that. It is the perfect visual representation of a footballing nation finally letting go of its anxieties, shedding its restrictive past, and fully, joyfully embracing the global spectacle of the World Cup.
Which leaves us with this final lingering thought for you to mull over as the tournament begins. When the descendants of ancient empire builders finally step out from the tunnel and onto the pitch in Mexico City, draped in controversial kits, their captain potentially limping, backed by a roaring, vibrant sea of painted faces. Will the sheer, overwhelming weight of a nation's realized dream be enough to overcome the cold, hard, 12% probability logic of world-class opponents?
It's the ultimate question.
Keep your calendar absolutely clear for that DR Congo game on June 27th in Atlanta, because that is the exact moment where this underdog fairy tale either miraculously begins or abruptly, heartbreakingly ends.
The beauty of the World Cup, the reason we watch, is that until that referee blows the final whistle, both of those outcomes are entirely wonderfully possible.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Whether you're a hardcore tactical analyst or just a fan of a genuinely great human story, remember there is always immense power in stepping beyond the headlines to truly understand the beautiful game. Enjoy the tournament, and we'll see you next time.